Now, before we get into this list, please bear in mind that a lot of these depend on where you live. In some countries, certain animals will be fine, but in the rest of the world, those same animals could be illegal to own.
7.
Fennec fox. Now, before we go into details on the fennec fox, we quickly want to mention that regular foxes that are common in the UK are perfectly legal to own, and you don't need a permit to own them. You just need the time and patience to train them. With that out of the way, let's talk about the fennec fox. While it may sound like a bad idea to keep a wild desert fox in your home due to it being out of their natural environment and maybe struggling to adjust to its new surroundings, it actually adapts to a more domesticated environment pretty well. In fact, they adapt so well that they're actually the most popular exotic mammals in the world that you can actually own. This is because they thrive with the proper owner, being one of the easier exotic animals to manage. But here's what separates them from other breeds of foxes. Unlike other breeds, they're more fit to be a house pet. Yes, even more so than red foxes. Many use a litter box with varying levels of consistency, and the droppings are dry since this desert dweller conserves water efficiently. They weigh as much as a chihuahua and are harmless. They're perfectly ideal animals to keep as pets.
6.
Capybara. Despite technically being classed as a rodent, I mean, you can sort of see why given its appearance, it is a pretty cool creature to look at. Yes, giant rats are creepy and to some even downright terrifying, but something about a dog-sized rodent is fascinating. Now, no, the capybara isn't a rat. However, it is classed as one of the largest rodents in the world. They have also been known to weigh upwards of 140 pounds. Despite being a rodent, you can't deny that they're actually somewhat cute. On top of their appearance, the capybara are also known for being semi-aquatic creatures. So if you're looking into adopting one, just make sure that they have access to plenty of water. Preferably one of those inflatable pools, as they like to swim around in them. Also keep in mind that while they are legal to own in certain parts of the US, we'll talk more about that shortly, they're also challenging creatures to look after. They're definitely a social animal and do better when they're in groups of their own kind. That's why it's recommended to avoid only getting one capybara. As for ownership, they're pretty much legal in most states in America. Most states will require you to get a license to own one, but in states like Pennsylvania and Texas, they're legal to own with no strings attached.
5.
Alligator. I mean, if you're an absolute madman, then sure, you can actually own an alligator if you want one. It's insane, but it is legal, and in the US no less. Some U.S. states, such as Florida, because of course Florida would allow you to own a gator, actually allow their citizens to own pet alligators. But in order to do so, you need to get a specific permit issued by local wildlife authority. It's perhaps needless to say that keeping an alligator in captivity is extremely dangerous, demanding, and expensive. Just make sure you don't do what one Florida citizen did when they threw a fairly large gator through a drive-through window.
4.
Servals. Here you go, cat owners. Is your cat not big enough? Then here's the answer for you. Now, as you can imagine, the serval isn't exactly the most ideal pet to own. However, there is no denying that the serval is an incredibly beautiful exotic cat. The breed originates from Africa. Now, while servals aren't typically aggressive in temperament, they're still known to be a chore to those who own them, as they're still typically classed as a wild animal despite being legal to own. Now, much like with any cat, well, a cat that doesn't just see you as the person who serves them food and milk, these beautiful animals can be very affectionate towards their owners, making them very loyal creatures to own. However, they have survival instincts that you may not be able to train. Regardless, they can make great companions. As for where you can own them, there's actually a fair few states in the US where owning a serval is legal. In fact, it's legal in almost half of the US. The following states allow ownership: Nevada, Idaho, Wisconsin, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia, without a license required. You can obtain a license to own a serval in Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, Arizona, Mississippi, Missouri, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Maine.
3.
Llama. Here's a strange one that isn't really all that surprising. In Africa, you're well within your rights to purchase and own a llama as a pet. Now, although you'd need to have the room for the llama to roam freely, enough food to eat, which is out in the fields anyway, and a place to shelter up at night or during extreme conditions, it is actually encouraged that you own one, if you have the resources available for it to live. They actually make a fantastic pet, as they are prized for their mild nature and friendliness.
2,
Chimpanzee. Despite being on our list as one of the cutest but deadliest animals in the world, we've got to be honest with ourselves. Who doesn't want to own a chimp? I mean, seriously, look at them. They're so cute. And while they can be legal in a few states, you simply can't overlook the fact that while they are cute, chimpanzees can be difficult pets. Keep in mind that if the opportunity was to arise, you're going to be in for the long haul, as the average lifespan of a chimpanzee can be upwards of 50 years, meaning you're signing up for a lifelong commitment of raising this wild animal. And yes, much like with the serval, despite being legal to own in certain states, chimpanzees are still classed as wild animals. At its peak, a male chimp can grow to be around 150 pounds and is at least twice as strong as humans. So if you're going to own one, don't monkey around and agitate it. Well, sorry. As for its living arrangements, it can be pretty tricky, as designing an enclosure for your newfound friend can be pretty difficult. Just make sure that the enclosure you build is extremely durable. And finally, just be ready for its wild antics. Some can be calm, and others, much like dogs, can be much more hyper. But if you're experienced in some form with wild primates, like let's say you were once a zookeeper, or that you're knowledgeable of their mannerisms and really know how to look after them, you're going to be in for the time of your life. Now, as you can probably guess, owning a chimpanzee is illegal in most states throughout the country. But all hope isn't lost, as you may be able to obtain a license to own one in a few states like Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, or North Dakota. Although some states don't necessarily have regulations against owning a chimpanzee, you'll still need to check with your state first.
1,
Bearded dragon. Now, this isn't just a normal lizard that you can own. Originating from Australia, the bearded dragon is a common house pet in the United States. Now, obviously, this one isn't much of a shock to those in the use, but this one is more for those in other parts of the world who are unable to obtain one as a pet of their own. Now, despite their appearance, these creatures are extremely gentle things, as they're known to be good pets for kids, and they tend to have a very calm nature and are very, very easy to look after. In a way, much like a goldfish, they're a great starter pet to teach kids how to be responsible, as they're not really tiresome to look after. Bearded dragons are known to grow as large as 2 feet long, so you'll need ample space for them to live in your home. Despite a lot of reptiles, bearded dragons love to be held and handled. Just remember, though, to wash your hands after every time you have any form of physical contact with them. As we previously stated, bearded dragons are legal to own in the United States and sold in most pet stores. And that's our list. Did we leave any out that you know about? Let us know in the comments section below. Please remember to subscribe and tap the bell button so we can notify you when new videos are uploaded. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.